And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports Podcast. I am here tonight on a Monday evening. We are recording earlier than we usually do, and you should hear it tomorrow on Tuesday morning because we have 2 games this week to talk about and 1 game from Saturday that we don't want to talk about as much. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But Carlos, how are you doing before we even begin?
I'm doing well, James. It's 8:05 p.m. here. And like I say that like it's different where it's the same. I didn't mean for it to be like, different time zone. God, I'm so tired. That being said, I have a final due in 4 hours. It's my second to last final of my undergraduate career. We're coming up on the end. I have to be an adult soon. I'm really excited, but not really. But I am excited. I am excited to talk about these games against an opponent we know all too well at this point. Both games against the same opponent. It's going to be fun. It'll be a fun week for sure. Like you said, not excited to talk about this other game, but we'll power through it.
Yeah, we will power through it because, folks, you demand that of us. You demand that every week in your millions of letters and tweets and whatever else Eureka tells us we get. I'm sure that he's not lying about that at all. But we will get into everything, including this game. Yes, last week, the Rowdies lost for the first time this season, 4-1 to Memphis, 901 FC. But with that out of the way, I do want to say thank you to everyone who joined us at Berry House to watch this game. It was a lot of fun. If you did not go, you are missing out. We had a great time. We had a re-signing ceremony with Berry House, and that will be up on the social medias here. So pay attention to our social medias, not just because we have interesting stuff, but also because we have fun stuff. Fun stuff like advertisements for future watch parties if you are so inclined. In our standings, the guest spot got another point because Lawrence Dockery of the 901 Soccer Podcast was apparently, I think he took that on the fly that Memphis were going to win, and he was not confident enough in his team, but they still won. And so now it is 3-3-3 for the guest spot, Carlos Eureka, and 1 for me, James, the soccer expert. Very good at predicting here. As we said, we have 2 games coming up this week. Wednesday in the Open Cup, we will be playing Birmingham Legion at Al Lang Stadium. And Saturday in the league, we will be playing Birmingham Legion at Al Lang Stadium. So yeah. Kaylor Hodges of the Hammering Down podcast and 1,000 other podcasts we have learned is here to help us out. He is going to give us the scoop on Birmingham, how things are going, who we need to look out for, and all that stuff. Before we get into everything, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any other major podcast platform. And of course, please follow RBLR Sports on social media such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you are at RBLR Sports. Carlos, let's do the quick recap and answer some questions about this stupid game that we lost on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll go through this if we have to. Farr was in goal sometimes. Jordan Doherty was on the back line. Lasso, Guillen joined him, although Lasso wasn't there for very long. Manjoma was on the wing back spot with Bodily on the other side. Crisostomo and Hilton made up that midfield too. I love them so much together, and I'm so happy they're continuing that duo. And then interestingly, Joshua Perez was still in. Hasn't been too surprising at this point. Arteaga was in up top, again, unsurprising. I think the surprise of the week in the starting lineup was Pacific Nyangabire getting the start at the forward spot. Interestingly enough, it seems like he could play that role well enough. I really liked him in that wingback spot in that first game of the year. But he's been coming in more and more in a more blatant, explicitly attacking role. In this game in particular, they had him up top with Manu. So interesting enough to see that. I think, we'll get to the circumstances of the game, but I think it's unfortunate that he didn't really get to demonstrate his full potential in a normal 11-on-11 setting in that role. Unfortunate, but that's the way things go. And that was because in the 11th minute, there was a really, really silly red card to Forrest Lasso. Just 4 minutes, by the way, after there was a yellow card to Robbie Nielsen. Set the tone pretty early that this was going to be a wacky game. Getting a red card that early, obviously never what you want to see. It's especially frustrating because, to me, again, super biased. I'm looking at that video, and it barely looks like a foul. Barely looks like a foul. It's the last man, so sure, maybe if it was a foul, it's a red because of that last guy, clear goal scoring opportunity. But even that was really gray area. Like
I would say
he didn't
so.
really have the ball. Like there's so many variables there that just didn't really seem to make sense. Nonetheless, ended up with the Rowdies being down a man. Forrest Lasso out in the 11th minute. Rowdies down to 10 guys, and Forrest Lasso missing league play on Saturday. Yeah, super weird game. Immediately after, it was an absolutely lovely goal, to be fair, from Birmingham. And oh my goodness, I just had it pulled up. Sorry for forgetting your name, whoever scored, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, they scored another goal pretty quickly after that. The second goal of the game was, again, a goal from former Rowdy, Luis Fernandez do Nascimento. Of course, he scores. Didn't really ever play for us, I don't think, but he's doing really well in Memphis, apparently. We scored a goal right before the half ended. It was kind of a wacky sequence of events. Blake Bodily got the assist, and Arteaga was wide open somehow. So seemed like we had a chance to get back into it. Not really. I mean, I tweeted out like when they scored that, don't give me hope. And I don't know why I thought they did give me hope, because as soon as the second half started, Memphis scored another, and then they scored another, and that was it. It was 4-1. Honestly, some pretty decent goals from Memphis in there too. That last goal was kind of a fluke. The last goal was totally silly. Jordan Farr just missed the ball entirely. Miscommunication there with Jordan Doherty.
Led to an assist for Memphis's goalkeeper in the meantime.
Yeah. So really, really stupid goal. It seems like there's been a few of those mistakes throughout the USL this year, which is kind of weird. I know Birmingham had one.
We had one against Miami, or
scored one against Miami. Yeah, we scored one against Miami. Birmingham also scored one against Miami, interestingly enough. Obviously, we got scored. So whatever. Point being, silly goal in that fourth one. But third goal was a nice shot, hit the crossbar, bounced off Farr's back. And it was an open goal for a guy that was wide open because our back line was just not reacting. I don't know. That goal kind of sucked too. Whatever. Point being, we lost 4-1. It sucks. It was, in my opinion, we'll jump into this a bit more, just a throwaway game. Like, just from the get-go, it was weird. It was wacky, and the circumstances were never going to be in our favor, especially after that red card. Standings update: Charleston and Colorado Springs got big wins this weekend. Charleston is still out front. The Battery lead the league with 24 points from 10 games. Louisville City have 18 from 7, and we're in fourth place with 13 points still. So not too far back. We're still in, obviously in position to make a good run in the conference, but unfortunate that we have these weird bumps in the road. Pittsburgh are only 2 points behind us now, by the way. Remember when we played them, they had 1 point. And NCFC are last. Sucks to be them. Sacramento have 19 points from 9 games. New Mexico are second with 16 points, 1 ahead of OC. And Las Vegas are back below the playoff line. So sad, below Memphis after that win from Memphis this weekend. Last but not least, El Paso is in last place. El Paso and Colorado Springs played the bottom of the barrel matchup this past weekend. It was actually a pretty entertaining game. If you're sicko enough to watch it, like I saw some of it, that was actually a pretty good game. So anyway, Colorado Springs got their second win of the year over the worst team in the league, who, by the way, tied against us a few weeks ago. So that's frustrating. Yeah. That being said, that's where we are now. Weird game, to say the least. We'll jump into it here. Table didn't change too much. Maybe a couple shakeups on the West Coast, but nothing too unusual in the East right now. James, let's just jump into this. We have to power through it just because we do. There was a bit of a stir online. Everybody was, I think, again, biased opinion, understandably upset with how this game started. Weird yellow card, even weirder and much more consequential red card. First of all, I'll ask you, I think I know the answer. Do you think it was a red card? And if so, well, it doesn't matter if so. We can't go back and change it. But how do you think that changed the game so early on?
Well, I don't. We could, if we're gonna do the whole breakdown, because it was such a big thing, then I think you and I would be here forever, Carlos. So I'm just gonna leave it to a very quick explanation. I do not think that it was a red card because I do not think that it was a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. I believe that that has to be met to do the dog so the way that it was explained online. I mean, I know what it means, but that's the acronym that people were throwing out. I've already gone longer than I intended to. I did not think it was a red card. What about you, Carlos?
It wasn't a red card. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it was not a goal scoring opportunity. Last man, sure, wasn't even a foul though. Again, I'm looking
I
back.
wouldn't. Yeah.
He
No.
tripped on himself, and it really was not. It shouldn't have been anything. It shouldn't have been anything. If it was a foul, I guess it would be a red card if it was a foul, but it just wasn't. And even then, I don't know. Like, the whole thing was really stupid.
Yeah.
I think jumping into like how it affected the game. Obviously, you go down a player that early on, it's going to affect the attitude of the players. On top of that, Birmingham scores like almost immediately after.
And
As
that
soon as that
goal,
happened,
that goal was such chaos. It was ridiculous. There were two sliding tackle clearances, and
yeah,
both of those the ball fell to another Memphis player. So I guess you could chalk that up to saying that somebody was not in the place where they should have been to be able to help out when somebody slid in to clear the ball away. But like the odds of that happening once and then twice in a row are very low. Marlon Santos gets the ball and he's able, I mean, as a defender in my adult league, if I got that much of my foot on the ball like Lewis Hilton got when he tried to tackle Marlon Santos,
yeah,
and you don't come away with it, I'd be pissed. I'd be absolutely furious about that. And I think that that was also a very fluky goal. The finish was not. The finish was incredible. Fair play to Marlon Santos for that.
yeah.
The
It was.
fact that the ball wound up at his feet is kind of weird. It does not make a ton of sense to me. But when you're down, like you said, Carlos, that quickly afterwards, it just, and then we're chasing the game. And so players have to go and move into other positions that allow even more chances for Memphis. It was everything stemmed from the 11th minute.
Yeah, this isn't like, I'm not usually someone that's going to sit here and be like, the ref gave away the game. You know, like there's no way we could have won that game. But genuinely, like there's no way we could have won this game. As soon as that red card happened, as soon as we let in that goal, like what, just a couple minutes after, like it wasn't going to happen ever. Like no matter how much attitude, how much grit these guys have, Memphis was playing like well enough to ride that red card. And ride it out, they did. The second goal was I can, I'm not gonna like give anybody too much flack for this game because of how it went down, but that second goal, like it seemed like we were already checked out by the 20th minute. Like there wasn't really a ton going for us, and I think the boys kind of understood that. Lewis Hilton was pissed off, but when isn't he? He was throwing his arms around. Freddie Kleeman was really, really slow to come in and mark Luis Fernando, who was entirely wide open. Guillen was there too, but he was much closer to Kleeman, who just I don't know what happened there. Like I'm trying to remember who got the assist there, and I can go back and check this.
It was I believe it was Marlon. It was Marlon Santos. Yeah. So he went down the wing.
Marlon grabs that ball on the wing.
Yeah.
Right. He's matched up with I want to say Doherty. And as he's running down there, like obviously you're expecting someone to make a run in the middle. I don't know if Kleeman just wasn't ready for that or was a little checked out because he just kind of came into the game not too much earlier than from that moment. But it seemed like he just entirely missed Luis Fernando. By the time he saw him, he's like, oh crap. And you could see him like start speeding up. But there was, like 5 feet of space between Kleeman and Fernando. Like it wasn't close. And it was a solid finish from him, but it was a pretty easy finish for him. So that second goal, like it seemed like by then we were already pretty checked out. Maybe you want a little more attitude from the team in an instance like that, right? Like, I don't know, try and dog it out. But I'm not going to give him too much flack because truly, like, it was a really, really weird game. Strange circumstances. We've had a few weird games this year. And I'm not trying to say, like, I know I've qualified like some of our like shaky results this year with, it was a weird game with the throwaway game. But this one, the one against El Paso, which I think we could have played better in that one, whatever, but not too much better. finishing could have been better, I guess. But in this game in particular, like there just wasn't. What can you do when you go down a man? You're already down 2 goals by the 20th minute. You could prevented that second goal, maybe. That first goal, I don't know how much more you can do there. We got a goal back right before the half ended, but again, like, okay, like I don't think it was going to change much, regardless of how things went. Like, I honestly, James, do you have anything else to say in the first half? Because I think the first half and the second half just blend together for me. Like,
I think that we were doing well to get back into it in the first half after we had given up the 2 goals, but it took us too long, obviously, to get to that point. It took us way too long to get to the point where we were actually doing something that was positive for the team. By that time, we were already down 2-0, and it's very difficult to come back when you're down 2-0 in general because soccer is a low-scoring sport. Put that to the side, it's very difficult to come back on Memphis's pitch and Memphis's weird dimensions. Put that aside, you're down a man and you have to make up the area. I was talking with somebody when we were at the watch party, and I mentioned how there are certain games where a red card doesn't make a ton of difference because of, let's say, the way a team plays. So maybe a team is going up against somebody and they already have all 11 players behind the ball most of the time. You take one of those out, it does impact things, but if you still have all 10 players behind the ball almost all the time, that will impact things less. The Rowdies do not play like that. They are a team that likes to go and attack and create things themselves. They are a team that likes to control the ball when they can so that they can make these different patterns of play that we have gone over, Carlos and I, the last couple of weeks, obviously. And we were completely unable to do that. When Lasso went off, we went to like a regular 4 at the back.
yeah,
Eddie Manjoma did try to get forward a lot. He wasn't very effective, in my opinion, especially in this game. But that was because whenever he tried to carry the ball, I think he lost it 2 or 3 times when he was on the turf that was laid over that's called the infield, right?
yeah,
I'm an idiot with other sports, but yeah, so he lost one there. I think that is what led directly to the second goal because he was on that infield with the turf laid over it. He lost it with a bad pass and they kicked the ball right into the area where Eddie Manjoma is supposed to be. Now you can say you can't blame Eddie Manjoma for not being there because he had just been carrying the ball forward. You can blame him for losing it. But then Jordan Doherty doesn't exactly cover himself in glory. As you already mentioned, though, Carlos, I would definitely put most of the blame for the second goal on Freddie Kleeman. When we turned around, though, getting back into any type of positive shape, that meant Blake Bodily was getting more. He was more of a central midfielder then, and Aaron Guillen was the left back, the actual left back, and Jordan Doherty and Freddie Kleeman were the 2 center backs. So it just changed everything that we wanted to do. Blake Bodily did his utmost. I think, in my opinion, he was creating the most chances, and even from a midfield position, he got a shot off on his own, and he was the one who got the assist for Manuel's goal in stoppage time of the first half. But if all of those different dominoes that I went through, the pitch, the referee, all these things, that is going to make everything so much more difficult. And yeah, like I said, if we're down 2-0, then it's terrible. And I would like to have this game back. We'll have another chance against Memphis, at least, if not more. So, we'll see how that goes when we get to it. But it really messed things up for us. And messed is the only word that I'm going to use on this podcast.
not to like fact check you or anything, but Memphis we don't get Memphis again this year, right? Because they're in the Western
You're right.
Conference
Yeah,
now.
you're right. They are in the West Coast. I had already forgotten that.
Yeah, it's super weird. The USL, like, there's always a couple teams bouncing back and forth. It feels like Memphis and Tulsa are one of them. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. Because I never want a team to beat us, but I never want a team to think they're that much better than us. And they're not better than us at all. It truly was insane game. I think Memphis is a solid team. It's not a team that beats us 4-1 in a normal game.
Beating us is one thing, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this game, yeah. Is there anything to take away from this game, James? Honestly, like, I'm looking at the second half, and, well, honestly, I wasn't. I turned off the game after that first goal. I started to turn off the game after the red card, and then I was like, you know what? You never know. And then they scored that goal, and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to go anywhere. had to go back to see some of the highlights and everything. Second half started poorly. They score pretty early on in that half. In the 50th minute? Again, like it was actually a solid goal. It's a solid shot, run off the crossbar, bounce out Jordan Farr. Backline is super slow to react.
Yep.
I'm not going to put too much of the onus on them either, but I think you should be a little bit more proactive if this is your full-time job in the back line, knowing that there could be a rebound. Like there was no reaction until the ball was in the goal. Whatever. 3-1, 4-1. Jordan Farr misses the ball. Miscommunication with Jordan Doherty. Lots of weird things happen in this one. I don't think there's a situation after that red card where we win. I don't think there's a scenario where we win or even draw in this game. There's a scenario where we only lose like 2-1.
Yeah.
But I don't really care. It's a loss anyway, and it would have been really tough to even make that. Get a 2-1 result. Can you take anything away from this game other than the fact that Forrest Lasso probably won't be playing on Saturday?
Almost certainly will not be playing on Saturday. I would be shocked if that was overturned, as much as you and I have already complained about the red card. But that's the way that it goes. What do we take from this game? We need to know how to react better to red cards, because that hopefully will be the only time that happens this year, and you cannot bet on it being the only time. Not because Forrest Lasso is a bad defender or clumsy. Sometimes he gets into these fouls that you would expect are not fouls, and that's because he's a bigger guy than the vast majority of people that he's going to go up against. So I guess we have to look out for that too. But it's just something that might happen in the sport. So if we have a potential problem when Lasso goes off to the point where it impacts our whole ability to maintain shape, although that's also literally being down a man. So, there are all of these different things to consider. I don't know. I would like to see us react better to adversity like this. I'm sure we'll face some type of adversity in the future that is related to it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a very, an early red card again, especially one that we don't agree with, but that's the way that it goes. And I think Robbie Nielsen also mentioned in the post game that he was hoping for a better not hoping for a better reaction, because he's partially in charge of that, but he wants to see a better reaction in the future too. So that's something I guess that we would all like. But with that out of the way, Carlos, is if there's anything else, I say we just do our man of the match, because it's a pretty easy one for this one.
Yeah. I think last thing I'll say is, with Lasso out on Saturday, presumably, Kleeman's a great defender. Like, I'm not saying this to disparage him or anything. I'm hoping we see a bit more. I think we will. He's not coming in unexpectedly, in the 19th minute or whatever, or in the 11th minute after a red card or whatever. I think there's a pretty clear understanding that he'll be playing on Saturday for the full 90. So I think we'll get a better performance out of him. And I'm excited to see him in a full game, mentally prepared to be playing in the game. I don't think that mistake was characteristic of his defending abilities. He's a much better player than what that clip will demonstrate. So yeah, I think better reaction would have been nice, but again, it's a weird game. Unfortunate that we don't get Memphis back this year, because I don't want anybody beating us like that, and just that's it for the season. But I guess it is what it is there. Man of the match, James, we can jump into this really quickly. We're in agreement, if I'm not mistaken, on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Bodily is not just my man of the match, it's RBLR man of the match. It's a rarity, but circumstances dictate things, and in this game there wasn't a ton to point to. So Blake Bodily had a pretty decent game. He got that assist. It seemed like any chance we did have was involving him.
Yeah.
He is having a great year. This game was certainly no exception. Obviously, could have had an even better performance if we had 11 players, but it is what it is. Blake Bodily, great game, I guess. 4-1 loss still, whatever. But he had a solid game, and he's been in great form. So I'm happy to have him on the squad for sure. Anything else on Blake, James?
Won the most duels in the match, 10. So that's pretty good. As you said, he had the assist. Chances created 1, big chances created 1, and he had a very nice shot on target, which I actually thought was going to be nicer. I think one of our other big shots that was a good chance was in the 3rd minute when Forrest Lasso got on the end of a free kick that we had. So just imagine if we had him for more than 11 minutes, that would have been nice.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so let's move on. Now, with that out of the way, liking and subscribing is free, and we appreciate when you do. But if you think you might need some new threads this year, you can support our podcast a little bit more by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com. I pointed the right direction, folks. Look at that. And checking out all the designs that we've got cooked up there on the website. There will be a link in the description. And if you find something that you like while you're checking it out, please use the promo code COYR to get 10% off your order. We would love for you to wear some RBLR swag when you're going to the next Rowdies game. Hopefully, this round of 32 Open Cup game coming up here on Wednesday, it will be I guess it could be the first time that the Rowdies have ever advanced past the round of 32. And if you are wearing some RBLR stuff, we will give you extra. I'll give you something. I don't know. I'll definitely buy you drinks and hot dogs if that's the case.
Oh,
but I hope to see you. I hope to see you at the Open Cup game anyway, because this is the round of 32. We're closer to the final than we have been in years, and we are only just starting. So we will see you there. To get into that, let's go to our interview with Kaylor. And here we are, everyone, with Kaylor Hodges of the Hammering Down podcast, who covers Birmingham Legion. Thank you so much for joining us again, Kaylor. We lean on you very frequently, I feel. Maybe that's just because we play Birmingham so frequently now that I think about it. And I think I was going through the press, like the releases from the team today, and I think that we've played Birmingham in 3 of the last 4 years in playoffs. So that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, 3 of the last 4 years in playoffs, and the 1 year I think we didn't was COVID, so it not even real.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Well, Kaylor, yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for explaining to our listeners, because we probably don't have the best of grasps on Birmingham. How are things going for you, and how are things going for the team?
Team wise, it's a bit of a mixed bag. We didn't think we really had a striker, because our only striker on the roster got injured and in the first game. So we're like, the oops all wingers lineup is coming out once again. And then Stefano Pino just remembered that he cannot get beat on a corner. He has scored 7 goals this year. And 4 of them have come from corners. So it's a very reassuring knowing that you can survive the kind of injury crisis that has happened this year. But on the other hand, the results haven't been coming. There have been defensive lapses. There haven't been enough goals scored. And even despite injuries, you can tell where mismanagement and roster construction happened. And so I think a lot of Legion fans have a little bit of sour taste in their mouth. Even though I said preseason, when the whole team was healthy, I think this is the best Legion squad we've ever had.
Yeah, Kaylor, thanks for being here. Again, I appreciate this. This is a really fun time. Like I was telling James last week, we started talking about these games already. Birmingham versus Birmingham back-to-back. It'll be a fun time, both at Al Lang Stadium, Open Cup, League play, back-to-back. I think there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to break down. You mentioned a little bit about your roster. And again, I was telling James about how this is a pretty good looking squad as we got into this preseason review, looking at the teams in the Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Birmingham's one of those teams, like James said, we've gotten pretty familiar with, I feel like, in the last few years. Yeah, with the exception of that COVID year, I guess, which, like you said, it's not real. Yeah, so this will be a fun time. So thanks for being here. James, do you want to start us off with whatever you got to talk about? I have some questions of my own, but I want to save them for later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kaylor, so obviously we've got the 2 games coming up. Carlos has just gone through that again here, but I do want to nail down on which each of those are. The first one on Wednesday is the U.S. Open Cup game, and I'll be at that one. So if anybody else is showing up, please stop by and say hi. You can yell at me from the close to the journalism box, because I get to sit out in that fancy part of the stadium. They give me credentials for some reason that I still don't understand. But Kaylor, the first game that Birmingham has had in the Open Cup this year was a 4-2 win. I believe you guys went to extra time on this and versus Chattanooga Red Wolves. I know that it's hard to say like this game is going to impact your form because I think it was over a month ago now and you've played however many games in between. But could you give us a very quick explainer on how that one went? And I believe, as you referenced, something about your striking problem having been maybe a little resolved.
Yeah, I mean, that was the Stefano Pino show. In terms of finding form, that we found Stefano Pino. He scored 4 times in that match. 3 of them came off of corners, 2 off his head, 1 off his chest. And then that put us up 3-2. And then he gets 1 in open play, which up to that point, there had been 5 goals scored in the match. And all of them come from set pieces. So there was only, despite it being a 6-match or 6-goal thriller, only 1 of them came from open play, which was kind of funny. But it was definitely a match where Legion went down early. They absolutely against the run of play, a brilliant free kick from Ricky Ruiz ends up being a header to the back post, which is a common issue for this team is man marking. Make sure you don't lose anybody at the back post. It just happens all the time, which does spoiler. I'm a little afraid of Tampa Bay for that very reason. But Stefano Pino showed that he can just win headers and he's very good at it. Which when you're trying to go for a goal at the very end of the game is super useful. When in doubt, lump it to the big man, and big man's been feasting. The big part for me of the Chattanooga game was realizing that we actually have a set piece taker in Kobe Hernandez Foster.
Okay.
So 21-year-old, he ends up coming from Norway. He was in the USL for a little bit, goes to Germany at just 18, goes to Norway, plays over 1,000 minutes in the top tier of Norway, doesn't get another job for some reason, comes back here, and he's a set piece threat. And Legion have legitimately never had one.
Okay.
In the 5-6 years, how long we've been around, don't remember, that the team has been around, only 1 goal from a direct free kick.
Wow. Now that is a stat. Holy hell.
And that came from our 17-year-old Matthew Corcoran, who is out. So we've never had one, and he's an actual threat to shoot on goal, which is, it's a new dynamic. And that was the other massive takeaway I got from that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's all very interesting. I did not know. I did not know about the problems, I guess, that existed with set pieces before. But that was a player that I did want to nail down on a little bit, because I know Kobe Hernandez Foster went, like you said, to Germany, and he was kind of a hyped prospect because we always have problems at left back with the national team, at least. So I think that there was potential there. But now I think he's not playing even as a left back. I believe he's playing more in central midfield for you guys. Is that right?
Yeah, he's kind of wherever you tell him to go.
Okay.
But he is much more of a CDM, a little bit out of necessity. We have 2 left, or kind of 3 left backs on the roster. So you're looking at Kobe, and he's playing as a true double pivot 6/8. If you had Matthew Corcoran on the other side of him, I think that he would be your pure number 8, really connecting the play. If you had someone like Mikey Lopez, who's also out injured, like Matthew, also a true number 8. Meanwhile, I think if you are pairing him on the long side of Enzo Martinez, which they have been, he's been more of a number 6. So he kind of does whatever you need him to. When he is allowed to get away from being kind of a pseudo center back type, you can tell that he is the best player on the pitch.
Okay.
It's not close at all. I mean, we talk about guys like Enzo Martinez. You talk about guys like Tyler Pasher, people who've made a name in this league, other superstar standout players. Kobe Hernandez Foster is the best player of all of them. and it's not close when he's allowed to do it.
Gotcha. Okay. So just to clarify there, you said Enzo Martinez is the one who's playing more as a number 6 recently?
It kind of depends. So AJ Patterson, who is a third center back for us, has been starting has been starting as the number 6.
Okay.
Because he plays the 6 at the international level. Alex Cronale out with an injury. Patterson has went back to center back. So when Patterson is at the number 6, I think Enzo is going to be more second striker, and Kobe Hernandez Foster at the 8, AJ at the 6. And I think that's when this team is absolutely best. I will say, though, even though it may come as a shock to some Tampa Bay fans or USL fans in general, Enzo's best role is as a holding midfielder. That's his best role. The thing is he's just so crafty in finding places, and he is a poacher's poacher. If you've ever seen a true poacher play, that's what he does. And I think that is a lot of his game. So if I were, I guess, coach and I had the chance, you drop him down at the 6 if you can, but also you don't want to take him out of the attack either.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, we're gonna get to Enzo Martinez for sure. I think that Carlos has some choice or non-choice words for him, but
who doesn't?
Yeah. So with the Open Cup game, that leads me into the other games that you've had. And the 3 league games that followed it, if I'm not mistaken, were a 1-0 away win over the Miami, a 3-0 away loss to Memphis, which, hey, we just did the same, and a 2-2 draw at home versus Tulsa. So what has been your form for the last couple of games as far as you see it, and what are the players feeling, or not feeling, but how is everybody doing, I guess, over the last couple of weeks?
Well, it's kind of hard, right? You look at a 1-0 win over the Miami FC, and that goal comes from the goalkeeper slipping, and it ends up Prosper Kasim, instead of taking the shot, passes to Pino. Works out well, but that's the 1-0 win. When you look at the 3-0 loss to Memphis at home, I think a lot of people were ready to fire the coach. Granted, there's been a lot of people in that boat in general the last really 3-4 years. And then you look at a 2-2 draw where Legion come back from 2-0 down, and arguably should have won the match, barring a better finish from either Tyler Pasher or Diba Nwegbo. Spotty, to say the least. I think the Tulsa conversation is really interesting because they went with a fully inverted lineup. So if people don't really fully understand what that means, if you're a right footer, you're put on the left side. If you're a left footer, you're on the right side. That way you can cut inside and take shots, right? And the only person that was on their correct foot, if that makes sense, was Moses Mensah, who was our left back. Our right back was a left footer, Dawson McCartney. He's been left back, right back, left wing kind of player. Tabor Teka Preston was playing a little bit of left wing. He's a right footer. Prosper Kasim, left footer. Tyler Pasher, he's playing the center of the field, so not really, that one's kind of a wash. And then there's somebody else that was over there, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, it was fully inverted, so it was different, but you also had essentially 3 right wingers on the right side. And where did the team get beat from? Them going down the other way. And so it didn't work. And this against Memphis, they were letting the fullbacks, Jake Roof and Moses Mensah, get really far up the pitch. Unfortunately, as you guys also learned, Marlon Santos is very fast. So when you're bombing your fullbacks up, you don't want their speedy winger who's super technical. God, I miss when he played for Legion, to beat you, and he did. And I think you could tell a lot from those games. I was talking to one of the players on Sunday, actually. We happened to be at the same Sunday League match, funny enough.
Nice.
And I asked him, or we were just kind of chatting, and he was talking about how, several of the guys kind of lost a little belief in the Tulsa game. 2-0 down. This sucks, especially when you think you're playing decently well. And to claw back a draw, it feels like a season changer. To go from the stadium is dead, the stadium is, no one's even talking, everyone's just depressed, to standing on their feet, ready for an equalizer game winner. That feels like a season changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big, especially, I mean, you got momentum like that going into these 2 games and whatnot. I know it's a draw, but coming off a 3-0 loss, it's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, especially with the 3-0 loss being to your biggest rival. I think there's a lot of world for, I don't want to say moping because they're professionals, right? But I mean, it'd be understandable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going to see exactly what kind of bounce back we get from, like I said, a very similar situation. You guys lost 3-0 and we lost 4-1, but Kaylor, if it's all right, I think that we will both go ahead and blame that pitch a little bit. And then maybe we'll talk about the referee.
I wish we could blame the pitch. It was our home turf. We didn't go away from home. We were.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we were at home, so I got to see it up close and personal and just be absolutely dejected for about 70 minutes.
Fair. All right. Well, that does change it up a little bit. Well, my last question then for you, before I turn it over to Carlos, because I know that he's got stuff that he wants to get to, but with those ideas in mind, I guess the thing that kind of stood out for me from what you were saying was that it's entirely possible that Birmingham are vulnerable going down the wings. They are potentially, or at least they have been capable of giving up chances from positions on the wings. And obviously, I think that it's no secret that the Rowdies are always trying to focus on the wings and using our wingbacks. That was even true under Neil Collins beforehand. So is that potentially a problem as far as you see it?
Honestly, this is the first time we've really had the issue from the wings, was that game.
Gotcha.
That one was kind of an anomaly, which is honestly why it stood out to me. I've been posting heat maps of Legion games because they're hysterical. There's no midfield. Legitimately no midfield.
Right.
I posted one picture against Louisville, which I wrote that one in an article. There is a legitimate hole there. If you were to, it's not a blue area. There is grass in the area of the number 6.
Yeah.
There was no midfield. I posted some more recent ones. I don't think that one made into an article. It looked like the Windows 7 logo. Like there is no midfield. And if it were me, and this is the same way I see every single match against Tampa Bay, if anybody ever asked me about Tampa Bay, forget Arteaga, forget Cal Jennings, how could you? Forget Guillen, forget Lasso, forget all the people. Like Lewis Hilton is going to be what makes or breaks this game. If Lewis Hilton can truly take over the midfield, which I think this year has been sitting a little bit deeper than he has in years past, but even so, if he can take over this game and play Cal Jennings, who's fast as lightning, or Manuel Arteaga, who, if it wasn't for Nick Markanich, would have been my personal vote for player of the month, it's going to be a bad day to be Legion. That said, I think the center back pairing of Alex and Fanwell is going to be back for either the Open Cup game and or the Saturday match. We'll see. Even so, like the middle of the park, as every match ever, is where games are won and lost, but especially against this Legion team that has been so vulnerable in the 6 area. if Lewis Hilton can take it over and Cal Jennings or Manuel can make those clever runs that they always do, good luck, Legion.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, on top of that, James and I have talked a lot about Chrysostoma, who's slotted in next to Lewis Hilton in midfield. They've been doing really, really well together. Chrysostoma is a guy that I honestly did not know what to think of coming into this year. It's just someone I didn't really know a ton about. But his role is like link up play with Lewis Hilton in the midfield has been really fun to watch. So yeah, that's certainly an area that I don't think we've had much concern about this year. I will say, just quickly on the Tulsa game, I have to give my boy Stefan Stojanovic a shout out. My friend went to Georgetown with me. He got his 3rd goal of the year. Sucks it came against your Birmingham Legion, but I love Stefan. He's one of the greatest guys in the league right now. Fantastic guy. So shout out to him. More importantly, though, on the topic of this game, I think the novelty of this Rowdies Birmingham Legion week is that, again, it's 2 games, Open Cup on Wednesday, league play on Saturday. Not totally uncommon to have a midweek game and a Saturday game like that. The novelty of having an Open Cup game is kind of fun. But yeah, it's still 2 games back to back in a short turnaround. Nicely enough for Birmingham, same spot, don't really have to go anywhere. But I wanted to ask you about Birmingham Legion's depth situation. I know you've mentioned a few injuries. I know, there's been some rotation in the back, like you said. I think for us, my biggest question, I think Forrest Lasso can play the Open Cup game, right? Am I making that up?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have him there, which will be nice for the big set pieces and whatnot, and have him against Pino. But I want to ask you if you think there's going to be any rotation in this type of, back-to-back games, or if this is a situation where you're kind of just going all out both games, see what happens. I don't know. Yeah, no, go for it.
With how last year's Open Cup run went, I would be shocked if the club didn't say put everything you have into an Open Cup run. Getting 2 home matches against MLS last year, I think everybody involved said do it again, because whoever wins hopefully gets FC Dallas. I don't want to see Memphis again, please. But
so lame. Yeah,
I would be so mad. But I think that's going to be kind of what happens. I think they're going to fully go for both, or go for the middle game, the Open Cup game. In terms of rotation, this one's hard because our goalkeeper just got back from injury. Our backup goalkeeper is still injured. So when we had Delgado starting back there, it's because our starting goalkeeper got injured versus Red Wolves. So I don't know if Delgado is going to be a cup goalkeeper, or if they're going to say, Matt, you've only played 1 game since coming back from injury. Play this match to get up to fitness. We'll see. In terms of Alex Cronale, if he is back and traveling with the team and whatnot, I'll be interested to see if they limit his minutes. These last few matches, obviously, we've been without him. So it's not like if we roll a lineup without him, if it'll be a tragedy or anything like that. They've done it. But it'll be interested to see how they manage his minutes, if he'll get subbed off at all or anything like that. There are the players that I'm interested in. It will be Finn Callaway, which I think they might have exams this week, so I don't think he can skip. That might be next week, though. And honestly, who knows if his parents want him to skip during dead week? I doubt they do.
Very funny issue to be popping up, though.
It's a hilarious issue. You also maybe you see Brock Marlowe, but as goalkeeper, but I think they also have exams coming up, who's our 4th choice. Ramiz Hamuda, he's not going to get serious minutes, but depending on how the game goes, either one, he might log some minutes. He's our 15-year-old new wonder kid, basically, that's come into the club, and he's gotten some minutes so far, so I'll be interested to see if he gets any minutes. Miguel Perez is probably going to get some serious minutes in one of these 2 games. He hasn't played much, and he kind of needs to prove himself, and I kind of hate to say it that way. With all the injuries, and I'm just going to rattle them off real fast. Matt Van Okel, starting goalkeeper, has been hurt. Trevor Spangenberg, backup goalkeeper, has been hurt. Oh my gosh. Mikey Lopez, torn Achilles right before the season started. He's out, hurt. Our first wonder kid, Matthew Corcoran, who we were getting ready to sell for a nice payday. He got hurt. It's going to be out for a while. Mohamed Boyatore, out with an injury. Alex Cornali, starting center back, out with an injury. And that has decimated the team to the point that there is no more depth available. So there's not a lot of options you have in rotation at this point.
Yeah, man, that Corcoran injury sucks. Like, right, like, youth
awful.
product. He's going to be a big payday for Birmingham. That's terrible timing. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I mean, the road ahead doesn't get much easier for Birmingham, right? Next week is Charleston, right?
Yeah,
I'm making that up. Yeah, it's Charleston.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, Tampa, Saturday, Tampa, Wednesday, Charleston, Saturday or Sunday, Sacramento.
That's ridiculous.
It's gross.
That's a brutal 4-game stretch, especially with that injury situation. Good luck. But yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about Enzo, but I'm glad we got him out of the way because my thoughts on him are all over the place.
Hey, you and Birmingham fans too. I've never hated a player more. I despise him. I've had to personally apologize to him for things I might have said in the stands while consuming a few beverages. I've apologized. I hated him, but he's also, and I know this means nothing to fans because you get him on the pitch, he's in the ref's ear all the time. He's not a flop. He doesn't flop. He's not that kind of guy, but he's constantly complaining to the ref, and you're like, shut up. No one cares. I get it. But then I see him with his daughters and his wife after the game, and he's carrying them around, giving them piggyback rides. He gives his daughter's friends piggyback rides directly after the game. He's always giving his shin guards away, his shirt away. And I'm like, you are just the nicest guy ever. I can't believe I called you all those horrible things.
This is good that we have a little 30-second Enzo apologist section in this podcast.
There we go.
Yeah, this is good. But yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a fun week. I'm really excited for these 2 games. Honestly, like I keep making the baseball reference. It's just it's so unique. It doesn't really happen like this, back-to-back games like this. But I think everybody's kind of aware, especially with the Open Cup situation, of like how great of a chance USL teams in particular have to make a serious run. At this trophy. Again, I'd be surprised. In the past, it feels like sometimes we've kind of taken our foot off the gas in the Open Cup. When we get that USL matchup, we'll, not really put out our strongest lineup. We'll focus on the league or whatnot. But I think, I don't know. I haven't had a conversation with Coach Nielsen or anything. It feels like everybody's kind of conscious of that fact, that this is a really, really good chance to make a run. Again, Dallas in the next round would be great. At home, MLS matchup at home, always fantastic. That would put you into this is round 32, and that'd be around 6. You would get into the quarterfinals, with back-to-back home matches. Like that's right. Awesome. So I think everybody's conscious of that. I'm really, really curious to see how we rotate the lineup, James. I'm not entirely sure what we're gonna do. Again, Wednesday, Saturday game, like it's a lot, but it's not super uncommon either. So I wouldn't be surprised if we throw our best lineup back to back out there, and just kind of see what happens. Obviously hoping there's no overtime or anything in that Wednesday game. But yeah, for Birmingham, Kaylor, I mean, Tampa Bay in general, it's a hard place to play with the humidity and stuff down there. We're coming in May. It's pretty hot. So I'm curious to see how your squad handles that.
I mean, listen, I get it. Bama's just as humid. I'll be honest with you.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
It is just as humid. So it's different. I mean, I think today we were at 96 or not 90, like 86% humidity. Yeah. So like both teams are used to it. And I get it. We hate Miami on this pod because obviously, but the only place that I think I've ever been that's truly just like, oh my God, this is unbearable is Miami. Miami was horrid, but
really?
I mean, I think the team is going to handle that. Okay. That aspect. Okay. I think
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only time I have had horrible experiences in Miami for other reasons other than humidity. I mean, the last time I was on Miami FC game, there was like 5 people in attendance. I don't know. James, have you been there? You went recently, right? It's the Miami FC.
No, I hadn't. I haven't been down to see a game in Miami, unfortunately. But
I could
I
go
take
on
both
and
of
on
your
about
words for it, Kaylor and Carlos, that it's not the best time.
dude playing in
It's
that, like,
great.
what is it? It's FIU's football stadium that they usually play at.
Yeah,
Oh
but they've
my
been playing in
goodness.
the soccer stadium, like the actual soccer
Yeah.
facility lately, which has been nice.
I wish they
Yeah,
could
yeah,
build
I
that
know.
up to meet the size requirements so that they could just stay there. That'd be great.
Exactly. It's so cavernous when they play in the football stadium. There's
I,
nobody there, and you
I
have to
mean, I'm gonna
walk
be
with.
honest.
Oh, it's terrible.
I'm gonna be honest. For Birmingham, a little bit of stones and glass houses. I want to sit out of that conversation.
No, I promise you, having seen both of these, like, it's so much better in Birmingham. Like, I know it's a
I
big
went
stadium.
to
I know it's a big
yeah, I
stadium,
went
but
to
yeah,
the Rowdies opener last year, which was against Birmingham Legion. And I don't know if it was just that game that it was, full because it was the opener or not, but it's like the most of the bottom bowl was full. I think the top was empty, but most of the bottom bowl looked pretty full. So I had a good experience there.
Yeah, I mean they've also changed it so they cut off half of the stadium so everybody's actually together and it's on this what is it on the TV side so at least it looks better.
Okay. Well, that's
You
still
can tell on the field that there's a lot of people there. Like
yeah,
there are more people there than our old stadium, which was much smaller. But I know fans don't like it because they're far away from each other and they think that the atmosphere is bad. But when you're on the pitch, night and day difference.
yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
It's just, I mean, if you did that with Miami, you still would have 12 people in attendance. Like, it's so bad. I
Yeah.
can't harp on how terrible the situation is down there. I feel so bad for them. But we can do a whole episode on that, James. That being said, we've hit half an hour here. Is it too early to start jumping into these predictions, James?
No, I think it's a good time. Kaylor, we asked not necessarily for the Open Cup because that one will also include penalties. It's hard to predict. But with the league game coming back on Saturday, and it's going to be at the same place as we've mentioned, what would you predict for that game coming up this Saturday night?
This is assuming that Lasso's red card is not rescinded. But I'm assuming that Kleeman is just going to step in for him. No big deal. He's really good in that role. Man, I love Cal Jennings and Manuel Arteaga so much. And Lewis Hilton is still one of my personal top 20 players in the league. I could go. I mean, Aaron Guillen's incredible. Jordan Doherty's amazing. Blake Bodily might be one of the best players in the league right now as well.
Yeah.
Manjoma's, I mean, I can just Cristomo, I mean, I can go through the whole list, and it's like this is a disgustingly good team. I'm also not sold on Nelson. Like, I'm really not sold on Robbie Nielsen. It feels like he is Neil. It's like it's basically like if Nielsen saw a picture of Neil and he said, "Who are you?" and Neil just said, "I'm you, but stronger." Like, they're very similar in the way they play. They're very similar in their systems. They're very similar in their ideologies. But Neil felt better anyway. TLDR. Names on paper mean a lot when you hit fatigue points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, Legion are going to lose 2-1 in the league game. I think it's going to be close because this game's always close. I think since we've played each other, there's only been 2 games that have been decided by more than one goal. These 2 teams always play each other very, very closely. I'm not very high on Legion at the moment, partially because of depth, partially because of, just system stuff right now. But I'm also a little bit down on Nielsen, and these teams just play each other tough. So to give edge to the home team, I'm going Tampa 2-1.
Okay. All right. Carlos, well, I'll turn it to you then. What's your prediction?
I'm so back and forth right now, honestly. I'll go with the Saturday game. I think they're both going to be really close. I wouldn't be surprised if the game on Wednesday goes to overtime.
Right.
fully seems like that could be a very real possibility. But I do agree. I think we can get a win on Saturday, but like Kaylor said, it's gonna be really close. It always seems like it's a really close game. I don't know. I'm Cal Jennings is in great form. Arteaga is in great form. I don't know why Cal Jennings didn't start against Memphis, but that's a separate discussion. I think they're both going to stay hot, and we get 2 goals from them. Without Lasso, I think we can get a shutout. So I'm going to go with 2-0 on Saturday. I know Pino is really solid. It seems like he's getting hot right now with those headers. But I like our back line, especially when it comes to dealing with corner kick set pieces, any sort of header situation. It feels like we usually have good situation back there, even without Lasso. So I'm not too worried on that front. I will say for the Wednesday game, I'll just throw in my prediction here for the Open Cup too. I think that one's going to go. I'll just run with it. I'll say we're going to overtime, and we'll win with a random Forest Lasso corner in overtime. And it's going to be like 2-1. That'll be a 2-1 game in the Open Cup.
Yeah,
They're both going to be close for sure. These are games that are going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a dogfight for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think depth, like Kaylor said, might start to play a factor more in that Saturday game.
I think that both teams are going to go all out on the Open Cup game, if I had to guess. I believe, and Kaylor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe either of us would host whoever we play next. Yeah. So if Birmingham wins, then obviously you guys would host the next one. But I think both teams are going to really, really want that one. So I think that's going to be tough as nails. Probably go to overtime if I had to guess. So if we're looking at the league game on Saturday, I'm going to say that one's going to be kind of, if there's going to need to be rotation, certainly, apparently Birmingham is going to need it more than we do with 4 games coming up like that. But I'm assuming that we might also look to have a little bit more rotation. So I'm going to say that one plays out to a 0-0 draw. That'll be on Saturday. That'll be my prediction.
I'll take a clean sheet. I will happily take a clean sheet. I mean, the back line's a little spotty. Now, I mean, Carlos, I think you're spot on. I find it hard to believe that this Legion team as it's set up right now is going to score against Tampa. But I think if Deba Nwegbo gets a start, I think that chance goes up big time. And one guy that, James, last time I was on here, I said was my X factor was Prosper Kasim. Mm-hmm. And I said that he always comes with a big goal in the big moment. And while maybe not the biggest moment, he did end up scoring in that playoff game, the one that ended up making it 3-0 for that one. If Prosper does what Prosper does, which is score goals in the biggest moments, every big moment in Legion history, and I wish I was exaggerating that, every big goal in Legion history, he's had his foot on it. And I think if you're looking for a magic moment, it's coming to the end of the 90, or if you're in extra time and Prosper is still on the pitch. If I was Tampa Bay, I'd be super worried because he has no fear in shooting. He's the only player I feel like on the team that doesn't get scared by the moment. He will fire them from everywhere. He doesn't care. He doesn't choke when it's in terms of I have a pass. Should I pass or should I shoot? He shoots. Mm-hmm. I think that if it's close in either one of these games and you see Prosper with his golden left boot on the ball, just know that he's going for goal.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that is as good a possible preview for these 2 games as we can get. Kaylor, you are a wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate you coming on to help us out here. I know that you obviously also have to do your own podcast and the USL show, probably 10 other things that you have to do. So we appreciate you taking away from your busy schedule to help us out down in Tampa Bay so that we know exactly what we're up against this week. If you could please tell everybody where to tune into you and where they can reach out to you if they would like to do so.
Yeah, if you want to just tell me how stupid I am for whatever reason, join the club, but it's at Kaylor Hodges on Twitter. It's like Taylor with a K. I am on the USL show every single week. Me and my co-host there. I also run a new show over there called For the Glove of the Game, which takes goalkeepers from around the league and breaks down every single touch they have in a game. And to do an in-depth tactical analysis. So if you want a tactical analysis from a position that doesn't get talked about a lot. For the glove of the game is for you. And if you are interested in following along, I have been doing the play-by-play for FC Birmingham, which is on YouTube. Check out FC Birmingham UPSL. I did their most recent game with against Potros. So if you want to check out me rambling at just a bunch of nonsense over a soccer match, that's for you as well.
Well, yeah. So a billion projects that you've got, but that's awesome, and I'm happy that so many people are giving you the space to do that, because you are really, like I said, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this. So, thank you again, Kaylor. We appreciate you joining us here on RBLR Sports to cover the Rowdies, and I hope we will be able to talk to you soon, where both of us are happy, but that might not be after this week.
I mean, I will take a 1-1. I will take a win and a loss. I, at this point, don't care where it comes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, there we have it, folks. And that was our interview, folks. Kaylor Hodges is awesome. We appreciate every time he joins us, which is frequently, as we have already said. We talk with Birmingham Legion people all the time because we play Birmingham Legion all the time. I guess it is lucky for us, or unlucky at times, that they are not one of the teams that switches conference back and forth like dreaded Memphis. So, yeah, with I think everything out of the way here, Carlos, the only thing that I wanted to say is check out our social medias for the stuff about the watch party that we just had on Saturday. We will have more in the future at Berry House. And if you would like to see us interacting with Berry House and getting on board for the future watch parties, then yeah, please follow us on social media. If you are listening to this when it comes out Tuesday morning, there are Open Cup games tonight. There are Carlos's favorite competition, CONMEBOL Copa Libertadores games tonight as well.
Liga plays Wednesday. Big game against Botafogo, almost at the same time as that Open Cup game. So the split screen action is going to be legendary that night.
How many screens are you going to have up?
So many. Like we're gonna have Rowdies. We're gonna have Rowdies on the projector. We're gonna have League on my laptop, and then we'll have some miscellaneous stuff on the side, other Libertadores games.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Well, the only other thing that I have to say is, folks, you have got to get to both of these games. Come to the Open Cup game because it is super important. MLS is being really whatever about the Open Cup, and I guess soccer in America in general, if you ask me. But let's show everybody how much the Open Cup means. This is going to be a great game. It is the round of 32. Again, we are closer to the final than we have been in years. It would be the first time we get past the round of 32, I believe, in the history of this club. So let's go and make sure that the Rowdies do it, that they get to the round of 16. And if we win, we host the next game too, folks. So you got to be there. You got to go. Also be there on Saturday again versus Birmingham Legion and cheer them on. Tell them from Birmingham to go back home, go to Alabama, I guess. Yeah, Birmingham Legion. That's where they're from.
Yeah.
But we got to cheer the green and gold on. That's our team. We are the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we are their supporters here at RBLR Sports. You have your marching orders. Inspirational.
I'm ready to go to the game, and I can't. Like I'm in a totally different part of the country, but I would if I had my, I'm going to be a billionaire eventually, and when that happens, I'll have my jet and I'll just hop on down there. It'll be awesome.
There you go.
This week's gonna be so much fun. I'm really excited. Back-to-back games against Birmingham. It's any team is really unique. It'll be a fun time. Hopefully, we have the baseball sweep at our old baseball stadium. It'll be a great, great time. James, anything else to say here before we wrap up?
Nope. I think that we are all set here. Just want to say thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Please follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, anywhere. We are everywhere talking about not only the Rowdies, but also the Rays, the Bucks, the Lightning, and the Tampa Bay Sun. There was so much Sun stuff for RBLR this past weekend. So do check all that out on our social media as well. You can get at me on Twitter if you'd like. I am mostly there at RBLR James K. I was going to say something RBLR Sports. That's not me. That's Eureka. He's doing that. Carlos, what about you?
At Carlos GPA 10 on Twitter. I recently discovered that the Clearwater Threshers have a promotional deal on Tuesday this summer. If you're in the area, you're not doing anything on a Tuesday night, $1 tickets to a baseball game, $1 beers, $1 hot dogs, and $1 popcorn. So do with that information what you will, but drive safe because there's $1 beers, $1 tickets, $1 hot dogs, I said? Yeah. Take advantage of that. I don't know. Seems like a fun Tuesday night idea. That being said, at Carlos GPA10, I'm probably going to be tweeting so much soccer stuff this week. Once I'm done with my last final, probably tomorrow, I am going to be doing nothing for like 10 days straight, except going out with my friends, waiting for graduation, and watching soccer. And it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to be tweeting about it. And follow me on Twitter so I can keep you updated with it.
There we go. There we go. All right. Well, with that, now I will also say please like and subscribe to our podcast, and you can get the full experience on YouTube. You can also listen to us on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts. We have covered everything, folks. We have talked to everyone tonight. We have done it all. All we need now is for you to go and join us, let's say, at the games this weekend.
Yep.
And the week. Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.